I just did mine, and I had when I switched it on, there was a big update actually. So maybe others are having the same issue.
Well, they should do it a day before. Anyway, right, we're live. Welcome to the, don't know what happened there, sorry. Community Events Working Party on Monday the 14th of October. As usual, this all recommendations must be ratified by the Leisure Committee or the clerk under delegated powers. Item 1, item 2, apologies for absence, please.
Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Davison, Councillor Lucarini, and Councillor Miller-Jones, and also Jane Lomas, the administrator for this.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Right, declarations of interest, request for dispensations. Anybody? Item 3. Nobody. Right, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 8th of July. Hopefully you've all read them.
Do you want me to share them, Chair?
Please do the usual if you would mind, yeah. So, need a haircut.
Sorry?
I need a haircut. Right. Can I have a proposer for those minutes, please? Councillor Hanlon first, seconded Councillor Brown. All those in favour, please show. Okay, lovely, thank you very much. Matters arising not on the agenda, as far as I remember, but nothing of any substance. Page 21, sorry, page 20, then 21. I don't know if that's been done, Sarah. I've lost you. There you are.
Which bit? The Barfield bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Moving down, page 22. I mean, some of this is a little bit historical now. So, Councillor Smith, did you ever get a hold of Father John at all?
Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday, and yeah, he's gonna. If you just email him, if we email him again, he'll respond. I think his issue is that he has to be there at the time. So if you can give him a definite date, then he'll hopefully work around that.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. I thought that was a Steve Marsh, not a Sarah Marsh on this one. But am I wrong? About the tarpaulins?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about Father John. Sorry.
To be fair, I think we'll have to accept the fact that SM, in the purposes of community events, does mean two different people. On this occasion, I suspect that it would have been you, Sarah, because it's a Halloween trail. But yeah, we can get that done anyway.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it should be STM and SM or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
One of you is just going to have to change your name, that's all.
Yeah. Steve Marsh had his first.
Well, yeah, but I don't like to say it, Sarah, you're younger. He's younger than you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've only been Marsh for about 11 years, haven't I?
No, I know. All right. Right. Sorry, moving down, further down, 23.
I hope I did that. Councillor Mason's on the call.
I know.
Whether or not, I have to say, I don't actively recall it. I may have sent it actually to Kelly. I'm not hearing anything.
I don't know if you're saying anything, Joe, at all. Or...
Yeah, sorry, out of habit of using Zoom. We've got our AGM coming up, and we haven't had a sit-down meeting since the Haverhill show. So I'll ask Kelly whether such a letter was received. But I'll certainly pass on the thanks regardless. It was very kind of you all. Thank you.
Okay. I could be for Bravo there. I don't necessarily know we are getting updates between meetings. Having said that, there's been a lot going on, so
Yeah, I did give some in the summer, but not since the summer.
No, that's right. Don't worry, yeah. And items, C for Charlie there.
I think you've done that.
Gary's been actively doing that. I don't know what response again, but actively doing it anyway.
Yeah, with only limited response back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I tend not. Where are you? I've just gone back and gone full screen now. Where are you? There you are. You just assume that I'm there. You'd never have to ask me. You know that. Right. Matters wise. Sorry. Let's move it over to the other side. Public speaking. Presumably there is nobody. No. Okay. Right. Community events wash up. Then let's start with the first. Well, let's start with the first. Should we start the first three?
Yeah, we don't need to go into each individually.
No.
I mean, they all went okay. They were all well attended. We didn't get any negative feedback, as far as I'm aware, from any members of the public. So the Chalkston runs pretty smoothly because Jacqueline's involved. The Clements Fun Day, that was okay as well. We had the Birds of Prey, which was nice, and Picnic in the Park. We had the dinosaurs, which were very popular. So all in all, I think those all went off okay.
You may not know the answer to this off the top of your head, so do you know how we did against? I know we got the budget there. Do we know actually we did on actuals?
I don't know exactly, but not far off in any of them.
Okay. Any questions on the fun days at all from anyone?
Chair, I think Sarah's being slightly modest, to be perfectly honest, because I know how often she tests me to whether there's any more funding available, and I know she's very alert to the budgets for these events. So I'd be confident that we were well within bounds as far as the budgets were concerned on those things.
I do wonder whether, I know you often say, oh, we shouldn't do it, but should we be including staffing costs? I don't know.
Well, you can do, but it's entirely academic, because all we'll simply do is transfer the amount of staffing budget from A to B, and it'll be exactly on budget.
No, I understand that. No, it's just, it gives you a truer reflection of cost of an event, doesn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, in terms of how much does an event cost, but that's not quite the same question as to whether the event came in on budget, because the staffing costs are already calculated out.
No, I understand that. No, it's just if you were doing if this was a brand new project, you didn't try and include everything in it, or if it was something you were buying, from a third party somewhere, you would look at all the costs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's me. You are right. Right, moving on to item 8 then quickly. Hopefully some of you or all of you have seen the paperwork that was sent out by Colin this afternoon. Lost it again, here we go.
I can put it up on screen, Chair.
Yep, if you'd like to, yeah.
So thank you to Steve for pulling this together, Steve Marsh. He obviously is the major driver behind this event, and we thank him for all the work he does to put it on. And I'd have to say that he really does go into a huge amount of detail when he's organising this event. I think that's a great photo, by the way. I have to say, I've seen photos from all sorts of different angles, but somehow someone got a picture from right on stage. I mean, it says Bongiolvi managed to get that. He got it himself. I don't know how that's a selfie, because I can't see the stick. But
I think that was Jake who did that. The photographer that Steve uses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him taking that photo. I saw those figures, but I don't know what the last year's were. So
I anticipated such a question.
Good, thank you.
So if we're looking at the totals and the held, so for 2023, the total was 1,512 with held at 517. So we basically doubled. Saturday 23 was total was 3528 and held at its peak at 855. Obviously, we had a Sunday as well at 838 and 204, which obviously was the drop off that was reflected in the lack of Sunday.
Okay.
The previous year, the total, I can't remember the exact amounts for each of the day, but the total across 2022 with the 3 days was roughly 7,500. So
okay.
It would appear that the 2024 almost got to that with the combined across 2 days without the Sunday. So you can see quite clearly we had a fairly slowish 2023 with a bounce back in 2024. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That guy.
Chair, I think it's worth adding to that the outside fence numbers, I think those are fairly modest.
Oh yeah, they're way more than that.
But bear in mind, everybody who was inside at some point was outside, so it's right to be modest. But we all saw how many people are out there.
Yeah.
On that Saturday outside, because previously they were kind of coalesced around the splash pad quadrant. It was quite noticeable that there were 2 quadrants were taken over with the population. So modest it was, but it was certainly a very sizable figure.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably because we didn't obscure the fence line. I remember making a comment when I arrived that on the Friday that the fence line wasn't as obscured as it previously was, so that actually people who wanted to see the concert but didn't want to come in actually had a broader range of places they could sit and watch.
Yeah. Councillor Hanlon?
Yeah, does anyone know why the figures increased so much? If they can put their finger on it.
I think maybe it was something to do with the programming. It was a little bit more populist this year.
Yeah, I mean, what Colin just said as well, people get to hear more about it and know what it has from previous years and thought, I'll come back again and mention it to their mates or whatever.
I would agree that I think that there were a few moments in 2023 that there was a bit of a lull in the space between the acts. I think Steve's worked hard this year to make sure the acts went on very tight around each other, so we didn't lose people in that way. And I believe also from what we've just said, it having a Robbie Williams and Bon Jovi were acts that pulled people in straight away. I think that was the overall reason, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think the tribute, I mean, as much as I wasn't overly happy about the tribute nights on the Market Square, if they were decent tribute acts, they did bring in the crowds. Sorry, Councillor Mason.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just picking up on the point. Firstly, I think it was better advertised. I think although there have been some comments about advertising more, I think the message had got out far better amongst the community about the event that was on. I think condensing it to 2 days, I think it made for a tighter schedule, and I think it made it more engaging. You still had community acts, but for me, I think the lull that you got on a Sunday, I didn't feel it. I was there for both days, although not the evening of the Saturday, and it felt pacey. I think it works better as a 2-day event. Thank you.
Yeah, and I certainly think from a personal point of view, working 6 days solid on this, if we'd gone to 7 days, I think I might have just fallen by the wayside. It was a long time, not a long days and everything. Okay, do you want to scroll down, Colin? These are the
Councillor Smith has his hand up.
Sorry, I'm going to say. Sorry, Councillor Smith.
I just agreeing to what previous said about it was better advertised. Also, I think last year we had the Women's World Cup final on one of those days, which affected the crowds, I think. So that might be one of the reasons why we did better this year. Anyway, just my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, I've scrolling through. I've got the socials on screen at the moment.
Yeah.
I have to be honest and say that I can see lots of kind of spikes and lumps and stuff like that, but I don't know whether anyone feels confident enough to give an explanation of what we're seeing.
Most of the spikes will be related to announcing an act or a headline act or something like that, where people will share it and then in between time will be the lulls, if you like. And that's why I personally think there needs to be a much more spread out thing to not only, you may not get the spikes, but at least the bottom line should be a relevantly straight line, as there's constant interest in the subject. The nearer the graph goes to the bottom is basically where people are saying, oh, well, I'm not bothered reading that, or not interested in it, or whatever it might be.
No, but I suppose I'm thinking what impressions, reach and engagement mean, because 271,000 or 419,000, obviously this is not just the Clements estate. There's quite a lot more people than 419,000 in Haverhill. So, I mean, I don't know what impressions mean, but 27,000 reach is the entire population of Haverhill, and 29,800 is more than the entire population of Haverhill. I don't know whether we could just, for the record, say what reach and engagement means.
Engagement basically means somebody clicking somewhere, whether it's to a website, whether it's to a link or whatever it might be. And remember, this will be not just Haverhill, this will be outside Haverhill as well. So it's not just reaching within the town.
But more than the entire population of the town.
Oh, yes, yeah. But it could be, Cambridge, Bury, all kinds of places, Sudbury. Going back to the impressions, these are fundamentally they're how many people could it reach, and they're not necessarily saying the 271,000 separate people. It could be loads of people several times as well. So reach and engagement are very similar to one another. So basically what it's saying is, for everyone it reached, they probably read the post. They may not have clicked on something, but normally the engagement is the number of engagements as somebody has clicked something. And that could be one person clicking 10 times.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
That's my understanding.
Councillor Mason has his hand up.
Councillor Mason.
Thank you. I'm loath to give any criticism because I know how hard the team must have worked on the advertising. If I had one critique rather than a criticism, is I felt that some of the advertising, though different, looked too much of the same. So, for example, sometimes advertising can just look like wallpaper. Oh, I've already seen that, even though it might have different information on it. For me, the branding is Haverhill in the Park. You've got your logo, you've got that really clear. I'm not entirely sure using the same format, advertising the event, was necessarily the best way of driving engagement. I think people like to look at different things.
Yeah, I see what you mean. We could have done colour coding or something just to signal the difference. Yeah.
I think also the layout, because I found out the same. I would look at a poster thinking, have I seen that poster already?
Okay.
And realised either it was the same poster or it was different people altogether. Primarily because I don't know any of the acts or anything, but I think that's one of the things, yeah. But that's something we have to discuss over, if we're going to do it next year, whether, should have a lot more input into this. Okay, going down. So I'm looking for my paperwork.
Councillor Pat Hanlon has his hand up.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll just wait for this to come up. That's it. Right, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, does it show when Bon Jovi was advertised on them graphs at all?
I can't remember what date it was announced. I think this is only the last 3 months anyway, wasn't it?
We can look it up, but
Because I think personally that would be a really good help in, saying, because of what Colin said, because there was 2 acts that was really good, and whether it's that really brought the crowd or not, if they had lots of viewing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do some research.
Yeah, but we can look in. I mean, I'm sure Sarah and Joe and Co can look into this and find out where the spikes were. This is the full overview. There is a separate breakdown which you have received.
On this bit, there is a bit more expenditure than is showing in the arts and crafts section. It was very low, but say another 300 quid, 400 quid or something like that.
Right. Yeah, and going back to what I was saying about labour and things, if you take the burger bar, there's quite a lot of money to come off that for staffing costs and gas and electric and everything, if you're going to do that, on the basis that normally they wouldn't be doing that. That's what my view is on that. So the profitability of the food at the burger bar was not as high perhaps as the commission we got from the other places. I mean, the other places were noticeably more busy than the burger bar. And I don't know whether that's because they were offering something different than normal. I don't know. You still got your hand up, Councillor Andon, or is that an old one? New one, rather. No, Councillor Mason.
Yeah, so just really quickly, I remember, I think I had a chat with Gary on the day, and I think there are scopes. I mean, I don't know if I'm in the wrong part of the conversation for this comment, so please forgive me. I think there is scope for having possibly some more stalls selling possibly desserts or cold foods, crepe, or, I think that the amount of space that you had and the amount, I think there is a possibility of extending the food offer.
I think, sorry, the food and other offers, like when you go to a festival, you get people braiding hair and doing henna hand things, don't you? All sorts of extra things that we could charge people for and charge commission for. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it over the weekend about things like that.
I think it's a curious thing to have this conversation about the queues larger at the non-burger stall, as one of the reasons we did the burger stall was to offer a cheaper meal deal, basically. Obviously it wasn't taken up as much as the more expensive noodles and etc.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
So I just think that's an interesting point. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously the cost-wise came out nearest damn it budgeted, as I think Steve says in his narrative. It was where did he say? Over £831, which is nothing on a project. Tell you all my old projects, I used to work 10% over minimum. It was 830.
It's worth taking into account that his figures are not including the catering and sponsorship that came in as well.
No, that was gross. Yeah, gross budget, gross overspend. Yeah. Okay. Any further comments on that? No, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I think the committee should have a vote of thanks to Steve for all the huge amount of work that he's done over the year and in previous years for this, because I mean he has done so much. It's remarkable, really. So he's gone above and beyond. So I'd like to propose that the committee, the council, sends its thanks to Steve for his efforts.
Yeah. Formal seconder. Councillor Hanlon, all those in favour, please show. Can't see me, yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay, that's good, yeah.
And Chair, just to note that we have penciled in artists. Appreciate that we don't actually know for certain that there is going to be a festival next year, but I did give permission for Steve to actually provisionally book artists. I mean, obviously, if council decide not to go ahead with the event, there will be a small cost to that. But to be perfectly honest, if councillors decide not to go ahead with this event, then the cost of making that decision will be out of any scope that we need to worry about, because something seriously would be concerning councillors. But we've seen that the headlines, having good people in, make such a big difference. And as this is a public meeting, I won't say the name of the artist that Steve has managed to pencil in, but I will tell you that the guy who plays Robbie Williams, who did the tribute act, was I was there when the conversation took place, and he was bouncing. He was so excited that we'd actually got that name.
Are we, as a working group or whatever, having any say at all on who turns up at these events in terms of artists, or is it all done by one person?
If any of you feel that you're better placed than Steve to advise who the best people to book are, then I would definitely suggest you speak up.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried the event is turning slightly into a one-man band.
Well, no more than every single other event, because at the end of the day, you make a decision from a governance decision put on the events, and officers put on those events.
Yeah, but it's our biggest expenditure by far. You know, probably, you know, many times more than most of the events. That's what worries me a little bit, is there's not a lot of, you know, a bit like the advertising. We were just mentioning that there wasn't, it seemed to be done also by one person all the time.
Well, advertising is one thing, but in terms of actually lining up acts, then I'm quite sure that the person who we've put in charge of this for the last 3 years will be happy to receive any suggestions from councillors.
Well, I just want to make sure that's clear to people, that it's not, because there was some criticism of the type of acts this year by certain age groups. So just saying it.
We can't please all the people all the time.
No, you can't. No, but as long as we don't keep having the same things every year, or the same sort of things every year, that's important. That's the problem. What happened with the old tribute acts? We had the same thing coming back year after year, the same sort of concept. But no, he's done a good job. You know, I worked with him for all that time. You know, it's a you know, it's not a 5-minute job, this organising this. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. I would say that the councillor's main role in terms of being a critical friend is to say, please don't just book the same acts again and again. How about you do this differently, do that differently, rather than necessarily. I certainly wouldn't suggest that this committee gets into any sort of habit of overruling.
No. What I mean is a better discussion, perhaps. And certainly, I would like to see, as it is our biggest event, personally, I'd like to see more regular updates of what's happening internally, even if it's not published for the Joe public out there.
I can certainly pass that on. We'll make sure that's in the minutes that Steve will produce some little pointers to let you know how he's getting on.
Yeah, please, that'd be great. Yeah. Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, I entirely agree with Colin that we should leave it up to the experts. And that's why I asked Sarah about the graph going up and down. Obviously, the tribute acts, it seems like there's no doubt about it, but to be sure, Sarah will come back with facts that the tribute acts were the ones that did it. So we leave it to Steve. Steve picked the right choice. I wonder if my question is, will Dan have any sort of input with Steve? You know, just talk to each other, see how how things get on.
Yes, officers do. The discussions happen all the time, and this is why I was being absolutely serious. If a councillor or an officer says, "Oh, actually, you know what? I've got a connection here or I've got an idea, then I'm serious. Put it to Steve. Steve is a perfectly reasonable person and will listen to that. And, you know, that's something that I make sure does happen, that people listen to what other people are saying. Because it is really, really important. And certainly, you know, I mean, Dan has a pretty amazing little black book. And I'd say Steve Marsh's one's not too bad either, to be perfectly honest. And yeah, it would be, I think I absolutely agree with the chair that we have in the past had situations where it doesn't matter what anyone says, the die is cast, and we've moved away from that. So we will take views, but we have to be realistic and say at the end of the day, we have to have one person actually coordinating the entire thing. But I do not in any way dismiss the possibility that a councillor, a officer, a member of the public, whoever is looking at this says, you know what, I've got a number that Steve could ring and he might just pull off an absolute blinder as a result. You know, people owe it to Haverhill to pass those numbers on and pass that to Steve.
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree.
I think there was a bit of misunderstanding what I meant, really. What I meant was, yes, obviously, but the final decision comes back to Steve.
Yeah.
That's why I sort of mentioned Dan having an input. Yeah, I should have said that also everyone should have an input. Entirely what you said, Colin. I entirely agree with that. Thank you.
And just to make it clear, I have done exactly that with Steve. Not that he took any notice of me, because I want all the people from the 1950s, but that's, you know, that's me, you know. Most of them nobody ever heard of, so okay, that's great. No, I appreciate that. Okay, let's move on. Anybody else on that? Oh, sorry, Gary, I saw your hand up, mate.
I think it was applauding the end of that item.
Oh, is that applauding, is it? Sorry, yeah. So
I figured out. I was
the big one.
Taking me time to figure out how to put it up, and now I can't get it down. So it's like, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make the point as well. As we had quite a serious incident on the Saturday night that happened, that the event doesn't happen without a great bunch of people behind it. We have some fantastic security and staff and volunteers who give of their time. And it is absolute kudos to Steve that he gets the kudos. Yet without people standing at a gate or greeting people or taking part in helping with incidences that occur, and so on and so on, it doesn't happen. So I think Steve rightly takes the plaudits. But to be clear that when we have volunteers like Joe and John, etc., it doesn't happen without them either, or nor all the people who contribute. So I just wanted to flag that Steve is the tip of the spear, and there's quite a number of people behind him as well, just for the record, that deliver this. Okay, thank you.
Well said, Gary.
And you managed to get rid of your clapping hand, which is good.
Chair, just for clarity, the incident that Gary is referring to took place outside of our event, but within distance to the fact that people called on us for help, and our security team and our paramedics left our site and attended the incident, and without going into too much detail, just say that it would have been a tragic incident if there hadn't been a Haverhill in the Park happening that night, because there's no way on earth that the care that person needed would have reached them in time. And I was on the scene, and it was dealt with very professionally. The person, well, they're alive, and they probably wouldn't have been. And it goes to show that when people talk about the event, actually, Haverhill's a safer place that night because of the resources the town council has allocated to it. and of course, those in all cases, the security staff and paramedics will react whether the incident is anything to do with our event or not. So that was very it was a very traumatic end for the staff, and those who were staff in the event would have seen it, and those leaving the event would be aware that they were routed a different way out of the park as a result. But it was purely down to the fact that we were there in the first place, that it was a happy outcome.
And just on that notice, the reason it came to us because of the sharp thinking of one of our casual technicians who alerted the on-site team to such a situation. So again, that just reiterates the team spirit that we have during that week. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very much a team effort, right from not from day one, it's right away before day one. The actual install, and right the way up to that night when we pulled out, whatever time it was at night on the Sunday night. And then Steve, obviously, on the Monday from when all the barriers or the Harris fencing eventually went. The whole thing was a great team effort, and I was mightily impressed with the organisation. I think, last year I was a bit under the weather last year, but or at the end of it certainly. This year I thought it went a lot better, much better. I thought it was very much, but you're learning, aren't you? You're learning from either mistakes made or things we've done and changed and everything. Okay. Nobody else got anything on that? Should we move on to item number 9, Knife Angel, which I'm assuming will be Sarah, although you should have all had the report, which has used up all my ink on my printer, but we'll worry about that.
Yeah, this report, I haven't sent it off to the Ironworks Centre yet. So if you do see any typos or any amends or anything, please do let me know.
Will do.
Sarah, do you want me to share it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've skimmed it, I'm afraid. Sorry, I only saw it about 6 o'clock, but yes. Nicely laid out.
We've got to do this to get our deposit back, which is why I've done a Knife Angel report. I'm not just doing it for...
Well, it's on every event.
No. So, yeah, there's a little introduction by Colin. There's some stuff on the background and the arrival.
Lovely.
The logistics of getting it all up and running. There's a little bit, a lot of it is showing off for the Ironworks Centre, basically.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why this is all laid out like this.
Just remind us, it was a public meeting.
Yes, I don't think Clive will be watching.
No, we could do later.
There is the man himself. We had a good turnout at the opening ceremony. And then I've just detailed some of the engagement activities that we went through, and we did a lot of work with community groups and the schools, particularly Castle Manor was excellent, but also Samuel Ward. And then all this is all the stuff that the other community groups got involved in. We had about 1,000 hearts. We're putting those up in the Arts Centre at the moment. And then the police also got involved, and they went to every school bar one in Haverhill, and then they got together with the youth team and Abbeycroft to do a sports day. There was a knife amnesty run by the police, and that got about 200 blades. And then what's this little bit here? Oh yeah, the Haverhill Family Practice organised these bleed kit sessions. There's my little dog. She took part, so that was nice. The fire service came out one day. And then thank you to Max particularly, because he got really involved. He ran some workshops at the church. using some material that we'd cribbed from the Anti-Violence Partnership in Lancashire. The Rapping Vicar proved very popular, maybe some would say surprisingly, but he really was very good. And then you can just see a few more bits and pieces. I won't read each bit.
I'm going to say, Sarah, when I read this report that you sent to me last week, just amazing the breadth of stuff you've done.
Well, it came from that meeting that we had at Chalkston, and everyone was just so positive. So if we didn't have that meeting and the community weren't really engaged in it and involved in it, then this stuff wouldn't have happened. It's the Haverhill spirit, let's say.
Mm.
But we also went a bit wider, so the Suffolk County Council got involved, and then the Department of Work and Pensions. And therefore, I'm just adding a few bits and pieces we did prior to the activities. We got a fair amount of social media and got a fair amount of. Sorry, I'm getting confused about what I'm saying. Yeah, we got a lot of very positive messages on social media. Probably about 95% positive, 5% naysayers. And these are just a few examples. Yeah, the media coverage, we got a little bit on Look East, and then that's all detailed below. And then I think we're going to come up to the closing ceremony. Maybe the numbers were a little bit disappointing on this. I expected a few more based on what we got for the opening. But that went well, and where those poems that were created by the school are going to get put on permanent display in the art centre. So we've got some sort of legacy. Oh, there's a quote from you, Joe. And that's a little run through of the Night Angel.
The lighting was amazing as well.
Yeah, it was very pretty.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Can I just add to the mix? I know Colin has touched on this, but in my 10 years here, I think this has been one of the most emotionally charged projects we've delivered. And so I'd like just to again recognise Sarah, because working in the office with her across the past couple of months, we've all seen how challenging it could be. And I think kudos, if we're going to recognise Steve for his efforts, I think, again, I'd just like to put on record about Sarah's efforts on this particular project should be recognised also.
I was just about to say something, Gary, because apart from getting soaking wet on the closing, or not closing, the get out on that Monday morning, which I've subsequently got a cold from, but anyway, that's another matter. No, you did very well. I know you had a lot of problems during the process with things happening and not happening and whatever. So it came and went, without any problems at all. It went up well on that, whatever day it was. We put it up the Monday, I think it was, wasn't it? Even on my birthday, I think it was.
It went up on a Saturday morning, didn't it?
Mm.
Oh yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was still
taken away on a Monday morning.
Yeah, I know. I came down especially to help you. Yeah. No, I think it went really well, and subsequently I saw. I think it mentions in the report. Loads of people just wandering around there, coming from far and wide. That was the more important thing, I think, was whether you agreed with it or not. It was an attraction to the town. Which I thought went, quite a few people I've spoken to had come from quite, long distances. Didn't know where Haverhill was, came here. They may not have stayed long, but at least they made the effort and everything. Right, let's go with Councillor Mason first.
Thank you, Chair. One of the things I noticed was that I felt that the detractors became fewer as the month progressed, and I think I did a reflective piece on social media, and it generated a huge amount of interest, and it created quite an outpouring, which I found really interesting. And yes, there may have been still one or two detractors, but it felt like the argument had been won. In terms of us having the Knife Angel in Haverhill, and it's not really possible, but it would be interesting to see where there were most detractions. Though I believe there would have been at the beginning of the event, and then there was a real drop off, and I think there was a general acceptance that actually something quite special was happening in the town, and the sense of a community getting together behind a single message. Anecdotally, people from around the country who were visiting Haverhill, I know, made a point of going to see the Knife Angel, and I think whilst we can't have the Knife Angel or something like it in Haverhill, just for a short while, we became a destination town. And I think, however much this cost us, and I'm anticipating between £4,000 and £5,000, it might have been more, but with that sort of figure, in terms of the amount of notoriety Haverhill got, that I think was positive, and I think the community value that we received from it being in Haverhill, and people talking with a shared purpose, and I think it was not only culturally important and sociologically important for our community. I think it was a commercial success, which is an odd thing to say, because obviously the Knife Angel, the purpose of it was in response to the tragedy that had happened. But I don't think we should lose sight of actually the impact that it had in terms of raising the profile of Haverhill. And whilst we can't have a knife angel, I think we should definitely consider opportunities to do something else, maybe once a year, that would capture the imagination of people. Because I think what happened was really quite special, and it provided a focal point. And one of my comments that I did write on social media was, every time I passed the Knife Angel, there always seemed to be somebody there. There seemed to be a steady flow, and I'm sure there were times when there was nobody there. But for me, when I was there always seemed to be a flow of people visiting, and I'm not sure we can say that about many things. I think it was quite special. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith and Councillor Hanlon.
Thank you. First, we'd just like to echo and thanks to Sarah and the team for all the work they put in on this. It's absolutely brilliant. And it did. I know there was some misgivings at the beginning from some people about the message it may be giving to other people, but I think the tone that was set and the way it was handled was absolutely brilliant. And the fact that it wasn't about knife crime per se, it was about sort of anti-violence, against violence and aggression. And I think people did see that. I didn't give any attention to whether it was a commercial success for the town or not. That wasn't, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about people looking on us in whatever way. It's about putting that message across to our residents. And if other people came in, brilliant. But we've been to a lot of events around the county before and since, and everybody's been full of praise with what we've done. And hats off to Sarah and the team. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you. Funny enough, David stole my thunder on a bit, but because I've been going round as well as chair of West Suffolk Council, and unbelievable people that's talked to me about it. They seem to know even the Lord Sheriff, Deputy Lord Sheriff, saying you've got quite a community there. And to be honest, that's the first time I've ever seen him, because there's quite a few deputies apparently. And as I say, I thank the councillors, actually, all the councillors, because it was very hard politically, because we had a lot of ifs and buts. We was really wondering whether we'd lose out politically. In other words, votes. It's what it's all about, really, if you want to get back in. But we said, no, this is something that Haverhill can really prosper on, as a community. And it did. And I must thank the Barfield family, because they took a chance on it. and it was in the end they done so well as well. So I'd like to thank them as well as the councillors for taking a chance, and we must do that in the future. You know, don't worry really about votes and things like that. We do it for Haverhill, all of us. So we should sort of carry on with these sort of things, and it was a great success. Absolutely beautiful as well.
I've just
and well
remembered
done, Sarah, and the team.
Thank you, Pat.
I've just remembered that the Barfields are keen to keep on doing fundraising for more bleed kits and stuff for the town. So for them, it wasn't a one-shot pony, whatever the expression was. They want to keep working with us.
Right. And I promise you, I will get you the closing ceremony video.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, once I've lightened it up a bit, because Councillor Smith was in the dark. So, yeah, I wish we'd put a light up now, looking back on it. Never mind.
No.
Okay, anybody else on the Knife Angel? No, right. Let's move on to community events. The last 3 we got for the rest of this year. We'll worry about next year, as they say, other than looking at dates and stuff. Right, Halloween Trail, first of all. Sarah and Gary, I guess this is your baby.
Yeah, what do you want to know? We've got a lot of stuff booked in. We've got about 6 or 7 acts.
Good.
We've got some professional props. We've got some homemade props. Centre stage are coming back to boost our numbers.
Yeah.
A bit. And we're going to do similar as we did last year with the fairground at the end. I booked in some additional stuff. So Shane, the storyteller, will work the queue a little bit, hopefully keeping down the malcontents in the queue, and the fire eaters are going to be along the queue side just to keep things entertaining. And then Joni's going to do some, Joni, not Jeanette, is going to do some face painting. I've got the henna tattoo woman booked in. And I think we're going to do the burgers and the hot dogs again.
Oh, are we? Okay. Right.
I mean, that's sort of a brief overview. Have you got anything, Gary, that you want to add?
No, from my perspective, front of house wise, we're running the same trail and it's facing in the same direction as we did last year. We kept that as it worked relatively well and allowed us to actually cope with the huge numbers who came into the queue, as it really was quite an attendance last year. So without bad weather on this particular night in a few weeks, we'll probably be, I imagine, looking at similar numbers. So we've kept the trail as it is. Flipping the trail as we have done in our past would have resulted in very big questions about how to queue such large numbers. So that was the key aspect about how and why we've kept the trail. We have changed it slightly towards the end, but hopefully a different sense of acts that Sarah's booked will present people not think it's exactly the same as last year. And there was good feedback about the kind of end fairgroundy kind of attraction at the end. So that's been kept, which allows us to kind of slowly drip feed everybody off rather than all going off at the same time, causing consternation between the queue going in and the queue going out. So in terms of that, we have quite a lot of stuff. We have a number of volunteers from that have come to us through the Rangers Centre. We are hoping to have the cadets on again. So all in, including the performance, there will probably be close to 100 people on this particular site. So it is a huge endeavour, getting everything into place from our contractors, from staffing wise, from the volunteers. So yeah, I would hope that the weather holds off and it's a good night for all concerned. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that both. Unfortunately, I didn't attend it last year for reasons. So I don't know how it went as such. I am available this year, so I don't know if anyone's put me in the pot, as it were, for the whole shebang, beginning to end. Please do so if you haven't done so. Just one thing, Sarah. I just saw it this morning. It came up on I think it was an Instagram feed or something. Some very clever things to do with projectors and cheap screens, costing about 50 quid. Have you seen these?
Well, interesting you should say that, John, because I've actually ordered one. It came today and it doesn't work.
Oh, right. Okay. There you go.
So it took an age to get here, so I'm not sure whether we'll get a refund in time or whether we should just buy another one. And
These were about 50 quid or something, but they look like I mean, they look like they're effective, but I didn't look any more into it. But yeah, it's just a concept. Yeah.
this was 45 quid. And
Yeah, there you go. So you obviously think it's in the same feed as I am. Councillor Brown.
Sorry, Chair, just before Councillor Brown.
Yeah,
Sarah, can Tech look at the machine and see if they can get it working?
I did ask Dylan if he could perhaps take it apart. So maybe we'll do both. Buy another one as a backup. We can have two. Christmas, it can be used for Christmas as well. So.
Yeah, look very effective online, but you know, like most things, you know, it's only as good as the salesman, isn't it? Sorry, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I just wondered if something could be done this time around. There was a break last time between, well, I call them performances, and there was a lot of people in the queue that didn't really know what was going on, and some of the youngsters in the queue decided to start playing up and swearing and doing stuff like that. So I just wondered if there was a way of somehow, yeah, obviously the performer's got to have a break and one thing or another, but getting the information passed to everyone in the queue, etc., what's going on, etc.
So,
yeah.
We're making the queue tighter and getting the security to monitor that bit of the queue just on the lead up to the avenue a bit more tightly.
Yeah.
And then hopefully the fire eaters and the storyteller will keep people a bit more occupied. But yeah, there's nothing we can do about the breaks. I'd love to work them like slaves all the night through. But
No, I totally understand that, but I just wondered if there's any way of sort of highlighting that there will be breaks beforehand, and you know, for people to come down at certain times so that it doesn't coincide with a break, so that you don't end up with, you know, so much of a queue. I just wonder if there's, you know, a way of doing that via social media, etc.
Yeah, I've put it on the poster, which is about to go out, and said, there may be waiting, please do be patient, stuff like that. But there's a limited amount to what we can do, but we have highlighted that there will be waits.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what times there will be the break, so that you just put it on there, but there'll be a break between, say, you know, 8:15 to 8:45 or whatever it is, you know?
Yes. So the poster that is just about to come out has got those times on it, and also the disclaimer.
Yeah.
Please do not hold us to these times, because
no, exactly. Yeah, no, sounds sensible. Yeah.
I think Councillor Brown, you ought to go out and entertain the crowds.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. You don't need to wear a mask, honest. Lovely. Okay, thank you for that. Just to confirm, I know, just while we're on here and I've forgotten, we're not using barriers, no?
Not metal barriers.
No, fine. That's okay. That's fine. It's just so I know I don't put it in my diary. That's all. That's fine.
Chair, can we just note for the record, 1959, Councillor Smith left the meeting. It's just going to help Jane because it won't.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. Sorry, yes.
It won't appear on the video.
Everyone keeps moving about. I missed that. Right. Shall we move on to the Christmas event? Just do both together if there's anything we need to know. I understand you've got a meeting tomorrow to talk about something, but some sort of parade or something. Yeah.
So tomorrow, Gary and I are meeting with Clary from the Carnival Company, and she's going to walk the route, and we're just going to talk logistics and stuff like that. Something to note is that the Queen Street traders are no longer doing the Santa's Grotto. They've had enough. So there's going to be a little bit less even than there has been in previous years.
Oh, it's a shame. Right.
Yeah, I think we should note that we're grateful for the work that the traders who organised that in past years have done. It's unfortunate there's a little bit of friction between traders at the moment that has ended up with this decision, which is really sad. But you know, obviously the main thing is that those people, we salute the people who actually step up to the mark when when a lot of people talk about what about us, but there's some people who actually are us and get up and do stuff.
I agree totally. We just got to be wary of that when it comes to it. Okay. I don't think we need to know details, obviously, because that will be what comes on the night. But are you happy with everything that's going on at the moment, Sarah?
Yes, I'll be happier tomorrow after we've met Clary.
Okay.
Not
too stressed or anything is what I mean. You're not.
Not yet. We've got Halloween to get out of the way.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's the Makers Market. We're taking charge of the Makers Market this year, so that's a little bit extra work to do again. So we'll mix that up with the charity stalls.
Can I say something? Because Sharon told me the Makers Market was on the following week. They're doing.
No, they're not doing that anymore because it.
She told me that. She only told me Saturday.
No, either she's got it wrong or you've misunderstood.
No, she said definitely we're not doing it on your day. We're going to be doing it the week after.
That's not what she told me. She said
might want to check with Sharon then.
Yeah, my understanding is that they're handing over responsibility for the December Makers Market to us.
Okay, that's not what she said. No.
Interesting.
Okay, because I did ask that specific question. I said, "Is it on the same day?" She said, "No, we're doing it the week after."
Okay.
I'll leave you to talk to her.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't want to give you more stress on that one.
There's going to be a car fair at the art centre, walking activity from churches together, fireworks, switch on.
Who's doing the switch on? Do we know? Is it something to do with
a collection of people? So
okay.
New Haverhill sleigh are going to lead the parade. Hopefully, there'll be Father Christmas and Mother Christmas there, and then there will be Andy Palazon dressing up as the Grinch, and then we'll have people from the Panto.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. We got people from
Dinos and David and a whole collection of people.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the plan.
Okay. And have we got any timings for this event? Because I definitely wasn't there last year. I was in Packworth, but is there?
So this is subject to plans progressing. The carnival part would be at 4:30. The switch on part would be at 5:15. The fireworks would be at 5:30, and the Makers Market and the charity stalls from about 11 o'clock onwards.
Right. Okay. And that's on
the 30th.
That is the one I'm taking, barriers to the market. Yeah. Okay. Okie dokie. Any questions at all on those two events? And obviously Gary's shouted out about volunteers for the fireworks in the evening or late afternoon, early evening.
Yes, if anyone knows anyone or would like to come forward to assist on the recreation ground, their assistance will be gratefully received.
Yeah, again, as usual, I'll be down. Well, I'll be there from early morning. So if you want us, just shout. Right. Anything else on those two events? No. Right. Should we move on then to the last big one, which is really looking at community events for next year? Item 11.
First off, the camera people are keen to come back, but we're looking more at May and June instead of April.
Okay. All right. Then you got the fun days, picnic in the park. Comment if anyone's got any comments.
Chair obviously wanted to have hear an opinion from Sarah. I appreciate that Sarah would like a bigger budget, but it's more a question of any of the existing budgets just becoming unworkable.
I guess that's Sarah to tell us whether.
What was the question? How are we getting enough? Is there enough budget in some of these?
Well, no, no, because I know the answer to that one already. Are there any budgets that you're looking at the agenda shows the 2024 budgets? Are there any of those budgets that you're finding are actually unworkable, that they really need to shift?
Well, it's not going to surprise you if I say the Halloween trail and the Christmas event, is it?
No, because they're heavy with artists.
Yeah, that's the artists really eat up the budget, but you've got to have them, otherwise it's a boring and flat event. So yeah, those are the two that we struggle on to get a decent amount, which is why we're doing the homemade props for the Halloween trail. Just to try and bulk out the money as much as we can. The other ones, we can work to those, the fun days and all stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, it's all the budget things. My only one, which I've already mentioned before, and I'll get to Councillor Hanlon in a sec, is the clash of Haverhill in the Park with VJ Day next year. I mean, VJ next year is going to be a big event in the country, and we can't just ignore it. Now, I know that's a civic event, but I'd just be wary of the fact that it's on the I think the Friday, is it? Yeah, the Friday, the same day. Tony, any thoughts?
Obviously, we've got to do something. Yeah, good for it. It's going to be the 80th anniversary, and to be fair, Haverhill, men contributed, and obviously the people staying at home contributed hugely to the war in Japan. Obviously, they had many Haverhill men that died out there and were captured. So I think we should mark it in our normal, very good way, and hopefully we can work with Charmaine and Brian and Haverhill Family History Group, etc., and put on a very good and significant event on. But I think you can work a lot, side by side with what's going on, with Haverhill in the Park. Obviously, I presume that the VJ Day thing will be going down at the Market Square, whereas obviously the park will be on the recreation ground. So I'm sure that both things could run alongside each other. It's not beyond town council, hopefully, to do that.
I'm conscious of personnel and stuff, having people available and everything else. For example, if we wanted to barrier off the Market Square for one reason, we ain't going to do it because we won't have any barriers. So we'll have to think about all that. But that's something just to be bear in mind for next year. I mean, as Tony says, BJ was perhaps more important than VE Day, because all the people who are buried out there who came from Haverhill never came home and everything. Councillor Hanlon?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My one is on Christmas fireworks. I not including last year, for obvious reasons. I know it's the same amount of cost every year. Well, for the last 3 years, I see on here. With inflation, does that mean we're going to get a less fireworks, display for 2024 than what we did in 2022?
I think we've touched on this before, the last few meetings. I think Colin's take on this at one of the previous meetings was we do get a lot of bang for our buck for that £8,000, and there seems to be, certainly from my perspective of watching these fireworks for the past 9-10 years, it's still a sizable show, and I'm aware that the charge has been the same for the past 3 or 4 years. So you might expect, what's the phrase, that things would be dropped or shortened, or you have less points. I can't say it's particularly noticeable, and the fire fireworks operator has not stated in any way, shape or form that he's dropped anything. I can only imagine that possibly he has, or whether he gives us this deal to ensure that he gets consistent bookings in the town. I thought beyond the smoke and the haze and the fog last year was a fantastic show, ironically. So from my perspective, I don't think we're seeing any less bang for our buck.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed the haze from video from afar. Yeah. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I did look at, well, I have seen quite a few drone shows over the last couple of 3 years. They are absolutely amazing. But I was talking to someone about those, thinking maybe we could have one of those, but they're absolutely
And then you check the
expensive.
price.
Yeah, and then fell over. It's a shame because they are absolutely marvelous.
Start at £20,000 for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll be having one, but
No.
it looks spectacular. Yeah.
No, until the price comes down and people, Colin, you need to learn how to control more than one drone.
It's very impressive, but as you've all alluded to, it's very expensive as a result. In fact, that the cost of our fireworks has remained static for an inordinate amount of time, and I have to say that I'm surprised that the fireworks display team haven't actually pulled a face. I don't know whether that's a reflection of the fact of how much they were charging back in the day compared to now, but I think we need to keep an eye on what we're getting, because realistically, having worked in pyrotechnics, as you all know, for 30 years, I'm quite surprised that they haven't actually pulled a face yet. I think we're getting really good value.
Okay. My view, I think we still should do it on November the 5th, but that's my argument. And start selling jack potatoes and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I
think the rugby club might disagree with you, Chair.
No, I know, but we could work in as a team. Right. Okay, anything else on the so we're considering the draft dates. And we need to come up with a recommendation. I suppose the big one we've got to ask ourselves is, are we going to do Haverhill in the Park next year? Any thoughts, anyone? Because that's the big cost. The rest tend not to change. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, to be fair, it seems to be an event that's gaining momentum. Now we've gone down to 2 days. I think we're getting a lot more people over those 2 days, hopefully, and that will reflect in the future, especially if the big name that's been mentioned comes to fruition. I don't know who it is, but it sounds very interesting, and hopefully it will attract a lot of people. Now, so I'm personally more than happy to support it for another year.
I haven't told you it's me singing. Have you not heard that?
That'd be,
You don't want to. Councillor Mason.
I was nervous after last year, but this year I think was a resounding success, and I like any opportunity that brings a community together, and it has my full support for another year. Thank you.
Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, you've got to, if we're winning, definitely have it again, because we always review it every year. So yeah, while we're winning and while it was a success last year, we've got to go with it, most definitely. And as I said, thank you to the staff and the volunteers as well.
I suppose we ought to add a caveat subject to budget things, which won't be decided for a little while. A month.
January, Chair.
I know, 3 months. So
yeah.
I've just come back on that. Yes, obviously the budget is important, but I feel the community spirit is really good. We can't do it at any cost, obviously.
That's what I mean. Subject to budget cost. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I mean. We've got to realise we have to take a chance sometimes.
Yeah. But if it suddenly increases to 50,000, are you going to say yes?
That's what I'm saying. No. That's what I've just said. I said about the laser.
That's why I added the caveat Yeah.
We've got to take things into consideration, but we shouldn't fix our minds on budget all the time. We just
No, it's not. It's not
that
fixing. It's just.
we're doing it for the
It's just making
community.
sure.
You know, that's what
Make
it's all
sure
about.
we don't just say yes and then off we go spending money.
Of course not. Of course not. It was a success. Let's go with it. Thank you, Chair.
Right. Anybody else?
Can we have a discussion then if we're staying at 2 days, Friday, Saturday? As that will be the first question that Steve will ask us.
Yes. My view is yes. I think that worked really well this year. I don't know about anybody else. I think Joe sort of suggested the 2-day worked well. I think we're on a hide into nothing if we go back to that 3-day one, unless you got somebody who could really attract the crowds on the Sunday. But a lot of people won't necessarily come out during the day, you see, and they won't go at night because they got, no, kids don't have to go to school the next day, but, they want to get the kids to bed and everything. Councillor Mason?
Yeah, just really quickly, Chair. I remember having a chat with Gary, and I just wondered whether there was any scope for having some inflatables there, something for the children. It is a festival, and it wouldn't be within the boundary. I think it would have to be beyond the boundary, but it doesn't mean that it still couldn't be supervised or organised by Haverhill Town Council. I'm not suggesting that the whole showground, the recreation ground, turns into, I don't know, an enlarged kind of version of the Haverhill show. But I just wonder whether there is some scope for having some external traders to come in. I think they would do well, and it would give something for children to do, and just give it a little bit of extra oomph.
I mean, it has been spoken about. One of the problems I could foresee is the security. If you're going to have that up and running overnight, if you're going to leave bouncy castles out overnight, I mean, you'd probably deflate them. But what I mean is just leave them around.
I think thanks to Councillor Mason for the point. I think the team inside the office always considers best options for presenting family entertainment. I think it would be fantastic to have a great big Ferris wheel like you see at Glastonbury, take over another quadrant. These things are not without their issues and licensing and so on and so on. So anything that gets put forward is always received and discussed, vis-a-vis particularly anything to do with the entertainment for the kids. And I think inflatables is one thing we could discuss moving forward. There are obviously other options. I think the issue comes back to footprint. It's fairly large space, obviously, but any inflatables, health and safety wise, would take over a certain percentage, and we'd have to basically rethink the layout of the site, which that doesn't mean to say that we couldn't do it. It just means to say we absolutely have to have that discussion and go back to the site plans and have a look at that. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for building more entertainment in for the kids, for families. And we'll definitely have that discussion in the office.
Okay, Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried with inflatables because it's a family event, and what I mean is that there is alcohol involved, and people can get a bit jolly, and accidents can happen when they get a bit jolly. So inflatables is a bit dicey. You can injure yourself on them, believe it or not. So I'm just, I don't disagree with having something for the family there. But I think inflatables are a bit dodgy when you've got alcohol involved. Thanks, Chair.
I think one of the considerations for the site are exactly what Councillor Hanlon said. Again, we'd have discussions. There may well be restrictions in place upon any of the subsequent entertainment. It could finish at a certain time. I thought it was great last year to see the kids, while the music was going on till about 9 o'clock, under the bandstand, doing their craft activities and contributing to the overall ambience of the event. I thought that was fantastic. Again, we'll just have a discussion on that in the office. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Right. Nothing else on those. So can I have a proposal for these dates as listed, with the caveat about what we spoke about budgets, but also making sure we don't miss sight on civic events tomorrow about particularly VJ Day.
Can I just flag as well that it would appear on the proposed dates that Parkway Fun Day is in the same week also as Haverhill in the Park. So I think it's Thursday the 14th of August is the actual day, and Wednesday is the 13th. With VJ and Haverhill in the Park, I think there should be a consideration of what else we're doing that week with staff-wise.
Yeah, because we know it's a bit of a workup for the, getting everything ready for Haverhill in the Park. You wouldn't want to put, if you are doing VJ Day, putting a third event on in that same week, I think would be particularly if you need tech staff or anything like that.
I think we would struggle to split the team and split the facilities.
Yeah. Could we move it to if the Parkway Fun Day happens, it's not confirmed yet, but let's assume it does. Could that go perhaps the same week as Picnic in the Park?
Well, we've demonstrated that possibility. We'll take that away, Chair.
Yeah,
and see what we can do. It's a fair point. I think realistically, the VJ Day isn't going to take the tone of, say, Armed Forces Day. It's going to be a civic ceremony marking the sacrifice of the troops out there. So we're probably not going to require a huge amount of paraphernalia to do that. It's going to be a matter of making sure that the people of Haverhill are aware that a commemoration is taking place and that something suitable takes place at the Market Square, and possibly, I don't know, I mean, is there any kind of anything at the War Memorial at all that actually commemorates those who are not buried there but are in the Far East?
Yeah, there are. Sorry, yeah, at War Memorial, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I say, their names are on there, the roll of honour, etc., etc. Yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I'll have to give me apologies for tomorrow because I've got full council over at West Suffolk. So, I would like to take part tomorrow, but that's life.
Brian and Charmaine are not there either.
No,
there'd be wreath laying, etc. So I mean, let's face it; it's not until next August, so we've got plenty of time for civic events.
It may be that we just don't forget the Market Square altogether, just do something at the War Memorial. Yeah, a bit like we did during COVID. Yeah.
I think to be fair, we've got to get the flag. Like Burma Star flag, etc., etc. Get those up there.
Put the flags up and
things like that. Yeah, and maybe some things with faces of those guys that we lost, similarly that we did last year last year. Yeah,
we need more than 6 lampposts, unfortunately, so we'd have to do them at the high street or something.
Yeah, or we can come up with something similar to that. Something around those. Yeah.
Definitely, Chair. I think the war in the Far East has never had the same sort of profile. We occasionally, we hear about some of the horrors of it, but I think this is probably, there won't be anybody there next year who was there, as far as I'm aware. But I mean, I think it's probably one of the last occasions that this will ever be commemorated. So I think, given the fact that there just happen to be so many people from Haverhill out there, that we need to make sure that when we look back on the event, that we feel that we a job well done. And I think Haverhill Town Council, not least through the efforts of you, Chair, and Councillor Brown, and lots of others, we've got a good track record of making sure that people are commemorated properly. So I'm sure we can do a good job on that.
Yeah, because there was a huge legacy after the Second World War of especially the guys that did return, those that had actually been in prison war camps. A lot of them really, really suffered. Yeah, and I knew quite a lot of them, as did many Haverhill residents. So yeah, let's try and do a good job of. Yeah, I know we will do. Yeah.
Okay, just to bear that in mind anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Can I have proposal then for these dates and everything, please? Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Hanlon. All those in favour, please show. Because there's only 4 of us here now anyway. Okay, can you take that through to L&C for us? Thank you very much. Right, any other business at all? I can't think of anything until we start again all next year. Best of luck on all the other stuff that's coming up, Sarah, Gary, and everybody else. So if you need any hand, just shout. I'll remember not to answer the phone. And date of next meeting, item 13, Monday. No, that's wrong. What's the date of next meeting?
It hasn't been set, Chair. The
have we not done the dates? I thought we had.
No, not for 2025.
Oh, okay. I thought we had. Sorry. Okay.
But time's flying. It's the next meetings for quite a few of committees coming up are in next year. I've put on the draft agenda for the full council to agree some dates. I'm going to ask Vicky to.
Yeah, I remember that. I thought, yeah, it just goes to show, as you're right. It's so, yeah. Okay. Then next meeting, TBA. Right. Item 14 is closure at 2027.